They weren't just engines, they were declarations of power, born from Detroit's golden age, six mechanical legends that refused to die even when the muscle era did. Buick 401 Nailhead, 1959 to 1966. At first glance, the Buick 401 looked strange. Its small valves stood straight up and down like nails, earning it the nickname Nailhead. But behind that odd design was one of the most torque-heavy V8s ever built. The Nailhead's narrow ports and tall heads created extremely high air velocity, giving it massive low-end power even with modest compression. It was rated at around 325 to 340 horsepower and 445 pound-feet of torque. But what made it legendary was how early that torque arrived, right off idle. It powered Buick's most elegant cars, the Wildcat, the Riviera, and the Electra. But hot rodders quickly realized its potential. It was compact, reliable, and responded beautifully to multiple carb setups. Custom builders loved it for its unique look, vertical valve covers, polished intake, and deep metallic growl. In period Buicks like the Riviera, Wildcat, and Electra, the 401 delivered effortless highway pull with barely a whisper from the exhaust. Its compact, vertical valve nail layout made the heads narrow, so the engine fit cleanly into tight bays and early rods. Hot rodders loved dual quad setups, twin Carter AFBS, and cross-ram intakes, which woke the 401 up without chasing high RPM. While other brands chased high RPM, Buick chased smooth, relentless thrust. The 401 Nailhead wasn't loud, it was confident, a gentleman's big block with the soul of a brawler. Ford 428 Cobra Jet FE, 1968 to 1970. By 1968, Ford had a problem. Chevy had the 396, Mopar had the 440, and Ford's performance image was slipping fast. Then came a group of rogue engineers, led by Bob Tasca and a handful of drag racers, who built something wild in their own garages, the 428 Cobra Jet. They took Ford's 428 Police Interceptor block and stuffed it with race-ready internals, big valves, a 735 CFM Holley carb, and a high-rise intake. They installed it into a Mustang, drove straight to the NHRA Winter Nationals, and won. Overnight, Ford was back. The Cobra Jet wasn't about fancy engineering, it was raw American improvisation. Underrated at 335 horsepower, it easily produced 420-plus horsepower and mountains of torque. It transformed the Mustang from a secretary's car into a quarter-mile killer. It also appeared in the Fairlane, Torino, and Cougar, every one of them suddenly competitive against GM and Mopar's best. Early test cars sent shockwaves through Detroit when they out-accelerated both the LS6 Chevelle and the 446-pack Roadrunner. The Cobra Jet became a legend on the drag strip. It proved that Ford could fight dirty, fight smart, and win, even in the heart of the horsepower wars. Even today, restorers hunt original R-code Cobra Jet cars because the factory blocks carried extra webbing and oiling passages unique to these brutal street legends. Chrysler 413 Max Wedge RB 1962 to 1964. Before the world ever heard of the HEMI, Chrysler already had a monster under the hood. The 413 Max Wedge, officially called the Maximum Performance Wedge, was Detroit's first true factory drag racing engine. It used a wedge-shaped combustion chamber that gave it its name, along with enormous ports, wild cam timing, and twin 4-barrel carburetors mounted on a cross-ram intake with 30-inch runners. This setup gave it ferocious low-end torque, perfect for launching down the quarter-mile. Offered in Dodge and Plymouth Superstock cars, the Max Wedge came in Stage 1, Stage 2, and Stage 3 versions, climbing from 410 to over 420 horsepower. In 1963, it was so fast that NHRA had to create new classes just to contain it. The 413 paved the way for the 426 Max Wedge and eventually the legendary 426 HEMI. It was the beginning of Chrysler's drag racing dynasty, a motor so raw that buyers had to sign waivers saying they knew it wasn't street legal. When you think of Mopar dominance in the 60s, it all starts right here, with the 413 that terrified everyone at the track. AMC 401 1971 to 1974. While GM, Ford, and Mopar battled for dominance, tiny American Motors Corporation was quietly building its own monster. The AMC 401 was born from necessity, one engine to power everything from muscle cars to jeeps to police cruisers. It displaced 401 cubic inches, 6.6 liters, and produced up to 330 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque. What made it remarkable wasn't just the numbers, but its design philosophy. It was light, compact, and incredibly durable. Unlike GM's big blocks, the AMC 401 used a single casting family for all its V8s, meaning parts were interchangeable and easy to maintain. In cars like the Javelin AMX and Matador, the 401 gave AMC credibility on the track and in showrooms. It even saw service in police cruisers and off-road jeeps, proving it could take punishment most engines couldn't survive. By 1974, emissions and fuel prices ended its run, but enthusiasts still rebuild them today, pushing 401s well past 500 horsepower. Pontiac 455 Super Duty, SD 455, 1973 to 1974. In 1973, the American muscle car was dying. Emissions, insurance, and the oil crisis were killing everything that made Detroit powerful. But Pontiac engineers, a stubborn group of hot rodders, refused to surrender. While everyone else downsized, they created a legend, the 455 Super Duty. It shared almost nothing with the ordinary 455. The block was heavily reinforced with extra webbing, stronger main caps, and special oiling passages. Inside were forged rods, a night-righted crankshaft, and a high-flow camshaft straight out of Pontiac's racing division. Even the heads were unique, giant ports and valves that could move air like a NASCAR engine. On paper, it was rated at just 290 horsepower to please the government. But dyno tests told the real story, more than 370 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque. In 1973, that was outrageous. The SD455 was sold mostly in Firebird Transams and Formulas, and every single engine was hand-assembled by Pontiac's best engineers. It was the last gasp of the muscle era, a factory race engine built in secret, sold to the few who still believed Detroit could fight back. Pontiac 421 Super Duty, 1961 to 1963. The 421 Super Duty wasn't just an engine, it was Pontiac's declaration of war. In the early 60s, Pontiac was known for luxury, not performance. Then a small engineering team led by John DeLorean decided to change that. They created the 421 Super Duty, a hand-built racing motor offered to the public in limited numbers. It was pure NASCAR and NHRA technology, forged internals, 11:1 compression, dual Carter AFB carburetors, and an enormous 421 cubic inch block producing over 400 horsepower. To make it unbeatable, Pontiac sold it in lightweight Catalinas and Tempests, stripped of insulation, bumpers, and creature comforts. Every time you hear a muscle car roar, you're hearing echoes of the 421 Super Duty.